2022 City Council meeting. Let the record reflect that all council members are present. We're joined electronically by Councilmember White. Marcia, you there? Marcia, can you hear us?
Yep, I can hear you. Sorry.
There we go. Okay. First on our agenda is Pledge of Allegiance. I'll ask Vice Chair Lopez to lead us on that.
Please rise if you're able and repeat after me.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Please consider joining us for a moment of silence. Thank you. Okay, next on our agenda is acknowledgments. We will lead with the Make Ogden Purple acknowledgement. We're joined by Amber Robson or Robson. How's that? Robson. Okay.
You didn't say Robinson.
No.
That's what I usually get.
I get a lot worse with my name, so I try to get them right.
Yeah. No, good.
Welcome, Amber. Thanks for coming.
Great. Thank you. Hi. Thanks for having me tonight. I'm here to represent the Weber State Alumni Association and our initiative with Ogden City to make Ogden purple. So you can see on the slide here, this is an initiative that we were really proud to represent with Amir Jackson of the Creative Mind. And so his initiative for Weber State as one of our board members was to bring back the Make Ogden Purple initiative for the community. His goal was to have this as a grassroots effort with the community to help be more on a personal level instead of the Paint Ogden Purple, which is more Weber State driven. Last year was our first inaugural event, and we kicked it off with the Purple Paw Parade. We had over 250 people participate and walk the downtown Ogden area with their pups and family and friends. And so we were super excited to bring that back again and help kick off the homecoming week. I don't know if you want to run through the rest of the slides as we go. That'd be great. So this was the idea with Amir. So he put this together, a grassroots effort to establish the call of town culture within Ogden. If you don't mind going to the next one, perfect. And you can see here is that his vision was to have a great sports scene and offer attractions and galore in the community. We saw a ton of support last year. We had the Echo Center put their lights all in purple. We had local businesses do baked goods and cookies. And so I feel like Amir's vision really came to life, as you can see. Can you go to the next slide? So here is where he really pushed the vision for us to be an active community. To wear purple, we had multiple insurance like State Farm Insurance businesses and everybody posting all over their social media, purple gear, and the support of Weber State. And our goal for it is to make it all year and to continually support the goal of Weber State. And to just sum up with the Purple Paw Parade, we kick off the Ogden Homecoming the first week of October 1st through the 8th. We'll be meeting down here at the Municipal Gardens at 9 a.m. And there'll be prizes, photo opportunities. We've been posting it all across social media, and we just wanted to help bring that voice down to Ogden City again. And that's all I have. And here's just, if you want the QR code, here's a little schedule of events and some free activities that we'll be doing, like puppuccinos and paw art and photo opportunities. So it was really great last year, and we got some great photos, and we were happy to do that again this year and be invited to participate. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Amber.
Okay, great.
Any comments or questions from council members?
Maybe one.
Mm-hmm.
I was part of the contingent that went back to Washington, D.C. 8 years ago, I think, when Ogden was awarded the College Town Award. Mm-hmm. That was pretty cool. That was I just thought I'd mention that at this point. It's something we got to remember once in a while, that we are indeed a college town.
Yes, yes. And that's really where our goal was to bring that community together. The sad thing is last year we had the super rainstorm that came the first time that we tried to schedule the pot, and we were going to have it up at our community education center, which we were super excited about. And we were getting a lot of traction from the community from that. And then we had to kind of step back with Louise's help and kind of regain our barrier. And what was really nice about that is people have tied those two together with the college initiative. And so if we just keep building that community year round, we can continue to see that, that tie-in with Weber State. So, and now the BRE is going to be a great addition too. So help us get there. Yeah.
I was just going to say thanks so much. I wouldn't be in Ogden if my husband wasn't working at Weber State University. So I love that we live in a college town. That's one thing that really made us want to come here. And I'm also a graduate and alumni of the master's program. So I appreciate it.
Nice. Thank you. Thank you very much.
I just say I love to see it. Weber State, great. It's been awesome. So I bleed purple, and I'd love to see these initiatives. So anything we can do to support that, I'm all on board.
Yeah.
Great, thank you.
I think there's 5 alumni on the council, right? So
That's wonderful.
yeah, so your
wonderful to
time
hear.
is well spent here.
Oh, good. Thank you. First time coming, so
Yeah.
we're excited to be here.
So the next football home game is against Eastern Washington. That'll be homecoming. It'll be a good opportunity to make your impact to making Ogden purple.
Yep.
I was talking to a friend at the game last week against Utah Tech. I almost slipped there. And he said, the only thing missing for this program now is people in the stands. I mean, that blows my mind. We don't pack that place with the quality product we have, but we're getting there. So
Great. Well, I hope to see you all with your pups this October 1st. So if you have dogs, we hope to get you down there and get some pictures. So, and at the games. So
yeah, lots of fun.
great.
Okay. Thanks, Amber.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Chair Nadolski, she made me think that, would you mind if we took a picture of the council in your purple so that we can post that on our social media?
Can do.
Do you want to do it right now?
Come on up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Should we come down there with her? So she's not by herself.
Either come down or she can come out. We'll come down. We'll come down.
I guess we're going down.
I guess so. I feel like you should probably throw the dove up, right?
Well, Ken, you got to come over this way. You're the other tall guy.
Careful. Yeah, wrong one.
Say cheese, everybody.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Insurance. Okay. Thank you.
Photoshop me.
Councilmember White will Photoshop you in.
Perfect. I like that.
Oh, should have brought your flag.
Redo. Should have had Marcia's cardboard cutout.
7-foot tall mayor cut out in a purple shirt. Okay. Thanks, you guys.
That's better than a Waldo cutout, I guess.
Any other acknowledgments from council members before we move on? Okay. All right, Joe, you're up. Deputy Planning Manager Joe Simpson will report on the proposed rezone of property at 487th Street.
Wonderful. It's good to be with you tonight. So this is a fun little project. What we're looking at is a rezone of a old church property that's got an R16 zoning. It's kind of in the middle of a single family neighborhood. The church is vacant now and so is being demolished and looking at developing it with single family homes. So we'll just dive right in. This is image shows the property consists of 2 parcels of land, just over 3.5 acres. So good size piece. and it is part of the Hillcrest Bonneville community. The request is to go from an R16 zoning to an R15. Just give you a plat. So just to kind of lay out the differences, these two single-family zonings are pretty much our most dense single-family zoning that we have. The R16 is kind of closer to the mid, and then R15 is a little more dense. And so the request is to go with a slightly more dense single-family zoning in this neighborhood. And I just wanted to put some of the comparisons here. There is some similarities in some of the setbacks, slightly a little bit smaller setback for corners and for side yard. But same front and rear, and then just a little bit smaller as far as lot width, going from 60 to 50, and lot area as well. So it's from 5,000 or from 6,000 to 5,000 square foot interior lots. So what really kind of initiated this petition was looking at, okay, we're going to build this new single-family neighborhood or single-family development in this neighborhood, and designing the homes and the properties to be compatible with the existing homes all around the property. And as we look at them, and I've highlighted these numbers on here, are showing the existing lot widths of the surrounding properties. As you can see, many of them are beneath, all the ones in red shown are beneath the R16 standard requirement. The blue are the ones that are meeting it. And so the vast majority are beneath those lot width requirements and even lot area. Some of them are even less than what the R15 standard has in place, where we see some that are down into even the 30-foot widths, but typically between 40 and 50 is what we're seeing. 49.5 seems to be the most common, which still is less than what an R15 would allow. So the intent is to try and make a zoning that would allow lots to be subdivided with a similar development pattern in the area. This is one where the petitioner showing the lots with an R16 zoning, and there is some leftover property where you can't quite get two more, so we'd have even much larger lots if we were to go with the R16 zoning. Corner lots showing the 7,070-foot wide lots, and corner in the interior 60-foot width, 6,000 square foot area. So with that, with the change, the number of units that would be able to be added with lots, and these are even still bigger than what we see in the neighborhood typically, but would conform with an R15 and would allow about 4 more units than what the R16 would allow. So when we look at the Hillcrest Bonneville community plan, we see that it falls within this transition area of where we're one day going to develop a Washington Boulevard corridor plan. Mark my words, one day we'll have one. But that area from this commercial corridor to the neighborhood, it's a transition area, which would make more sense to have a little bit of density between the neighborhood. And to be honest, I mean, really what we're looking at is not an increased density, but is even larger than what's established there under an R15 zoning. And so has a continuity there, you know, meets the provisions of the code. And so the recommendation that has come from the Planning Commission is approval for the rezone to R15. That's all I have.
Thank you, Joe. If council members have questions, just a reminder, since we have Marcia online, to make sure you speak in your mic.
Chair, if I might. I very much appreciate the idea of going to R15. It does match the surrounding build pattern. I also was wondering if there's going to be any kind of a requirement, or at least a request, that we build with the same type of building structures, roof pitch, use brick, things of that nature, which is pretty predominant in that area, so that it will still blend, kind of, what was the word you all used the other day? It's not a word I use normally, so I can't remember what it is, but anyway.
Compatibility.
Yeah, just make it compatible. So, those are the kind of things that I'm hoping that the developer will do.
And the developer has, though we have not seen any plans, as far as how they would propose to develop the buildings themselves, he has indicated that they are going to be very traditional with the neighborhood and good quality materials. It's not, though this is outside of the East Central, definitely not a vinyl siding, stucco kind of thing.
Right.
Definitely more within line with what we want to see happen in our neighborhoods.
Well, the community plan addresses the housing styles, and I think if it complied with what's in the community plan, that would be good. And that was the other question I had to ask, as I did not review the community plan. Hopefully you did, to make sure that there wasn't anything that said don't build anything
No, I mean,
different.
The community plan kind of gave, and again, it's a guideline that we look at. I mean, it kind of gave a density per acre kind of fitting, which seemed to lean between somewhere of the R15 and R16 area. But as far as design, I mean, really, and a lot of our plans use the language of strengthening the single family neighborhood, and then looking at, again, policies, we're looking at transition areas between commercial and residential to provide buffering. And so, again, that looks at gleaning some of the density. One thing also is we've kind of looked at as staff, because there's more than just this property of churches. I think I know of 6 that we have that are in demolition and sell that we see going on. And we're kind of seeing the same predicament where, there are R16, but everything around it's really more kind of an R15. And so it's something we've thought about as staff, is maybe looking at, is our zoning really reflecting our built environment of neighborhoods? And as part of that, we probably could be looking at maybe some of the design and achieving those goals. But as far as code wise, there isn't anything for this area that triggers that.
You're talking about the one on 2nd and Porter, probably. Also,
there's one there. There's one on Kingston. The Porter one has been asked about a lot. We just did the Mount Lewis townhome one. That one did the
Incidentally, code enforcement needs to take a visit there.
So, there's a few. I can't remember. It seemed like I had another one that popped up just this last week too that was coming. So, yeah. There's probably going to be seeing maybe a little more of this.
Yeah.
Chair, I had just a quick question. I don't know if we know the answer, or if this is the right place to ask this question, but I know that piece of land has a lot of really well-established trees, some really beautiful trees there, and I don't know if that's something that's going to be taken into consideration, trying to save as many of those and build around that.
Yeah, I mean, definitely if they're in the middle of a building footprint, there's not a lot that can be done, but there are provisions in our code at looking at tree preservation. And as we see the subdivision process, that is one of the things that we'll be considering, and probably be looking at requiring a tree preservation plan and looking at areas where that would be possible. I mean, particularly if we've got good ones along the streetscape, and we'd want to look at preserving those. They'll probably be looking at transitioning to some more water-wise landscaping with some of the new codes that we have adopted as a city. But yeah, definitely it is in code, and we'll look at that. If we can reasonably preserve the tree, we'll do it.
Anything else for Joe? We've also got the petitioner here. We got Mike Bastian. Here, if there's anything you want to add, you're welcome to. You don't have to. Okay. Anybody have questions for Mike? Okay. Cool. Thank you, Mike.
Can we get some brick? Oh, good. Okay.
For the recorder and for those watching from home, Councilmember Heyer asked for brick. Petitioner said thumbs up. Okay. All righty. This is not a public hearing, so if anybody cares to make a motion.
Yes, Chair, I'll make that motion then.
Sorry, we do have on here that we'll receive public input. I apologize.
Oh, sure enough.
Sorry.
Yes, you do.
If anybody cares to address the council on this item, please limit your comments to 3 minutes and keep your comments focused on item 3A, proposed rezone of property at 480 7th Street. Okay, seeing no motion, no movement. Thanks.
Okay, then I would make a motion then that we adopt proposed ordinance 2022-41.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Heyer, second by Councilmember Chaburka to adopt proposed ordinance 2022-41. This is a roll call vote.
Councilmember Blair,
Aye.
Councilmember Chaburka,
Aye.
Councilmember Heyer,
Aye.
Councilmember Ritchie,
Aye.
Councilmember White,
Aye.
Vice Chair Lopez,
Aye.
Chair Nadolski.
Aye, that passes.
Good luck on the project, Mike.
Yep, good luck, Mike. Thanks for hanging in there all the time. Okay, thanks, Joe. I guess we're bringing up Barton for the next one. Proposed zone text amendment to regulations for metal accessory buildings.
Okay, good evening, Chair Nagalski and city councilors. This item is to consider an amendment to the zoning ordinance on metal-sided accessory structures. The request is to allow metal siding on accessory buildings over 400 square feet. And in this case, the applicant wants to do a metal garage in their backyard to be over 400 square feet. They tinker with cars and they would like that building be appropriate for their use. The current zoning ordinance does not allow metal-sided buildings, accessory buildings over 400 square feet on lots less than half an acre. And so they've asked to do an amendment to the zoning ordinance. So
I'll ask a question first. Yes. Under a half acre, does it allow it over a half acre?
It does allow it over a half acre with planning commission and approval and a maximum 12.5-foot height.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
He's been hanging on to that one for today. So.
That's good. And the chart I'm showing shows what our current standards are. And you can see if it's our standards divide things into less than half acre lots or over half acre lots, and then lots that are buildings that are 400 square feet and smaller, and those that are over 400 square feet. You can see on the upper right, if it's under half acre and over 400 square feet, it's not allowed. The proposed amendment, as proposed by the planning commission, or is recommended by the planning commission, would allow them on lots under half acre with planning commission approval, would require that they be in the rear yard, and would allow them to be a maximum height of 80% of the height of the main dwelling. So in most cases, a lot higher than 12.5 feet. And the planning commission, in making this recommendation, looked at the general plan. One of the goals is strengthening neighborhood through appropriate design. They recognize on the one hand that materials have changed a lot. There's over the time that used to be just galvanized metal and corrugated metal panels was your only choice, Quonset huts. And over time, the materials have got more sophisticated, better constructed, longer lasting, more attractive. And so they did feel there was appropriate to make some changes. But they did feel like they need to consider the character of the neighborhood when approving these. That's why they were recommending that they be allowed, but they require planning commission approval so they can look at the actual design of the building before just approving it. We did have a work session with the council on this, and several questions came up in the discussion. One is, should that be a planning commission approval, or could we just make standards that they have to meet and do it administratively? If it is a planning commission approval, what's the criteria for their decision making? Also, I didn't talk a lot about the design standards that they would have to meet. And so some of the questions were on what design standards apply, and also this question about side yards, whether they should be allowed in side yards. So the standards would apply, they would have to have a baked on colored enamel or vinyl coating or under other integral coloring methods, so it just can't be bare metal. The corrugated metal isn't allowed. They do have square ribbed, so they can't be the wavy ribs. The code actually does allow architectural metal, which is not structural metal, but just designed to be a siding material on non-prefabricated buildings are actually allowed at this point. There are requirements currently for roofs on lots over a half acre, and the proposal would bring those into lots under a half acre. So they do have to have a pitched roof, at least 4 and 12 pitch. They have to have an eave overhang. And so the sort of Quonset hut type buildings would not be allowed because they don't have that kind of roof and they don't have an eave. One of the requirements is that you have to have a relief feature on at least one side of the building. So it's not just a box, a rectangular box, but the picture shows something like an awning on one end. It could be a dormer on the roof or some sort of feature to make it just not a rectangular box. One of the requirements there have to be windows on at least 2 sides of the building. And so the prefabricated buildings that don't have any, they're just storage sheds that don't have any windows would not be allowed. But there are designs that do have windows, like the one I show on the bottom. And then the side yard standards. So in these cases, if we look at, say, a garage that's in the side yard, the current and proposed standards would not allow metal-sided buildings in the side yard. There is an exception for these architectural metal buildings. And then in the rear yard, so on a corner lot, if it's behind the front of the house, it's still in the rear yard, even though that's just how you measure rear yard. So under the proposal, you could allow a metal-sided building with planning commission approval. So that gets to what kind of actions does the council want to take tonight? One is you could adopt as proposed, as the planning commission recommended, which would allow them with planning commission approval, and those siding and materials and roof and window standards would apply. Another option is you might want to add criteria for the planning commission approval, like you might want to say something like it needs to be compatible with other structures in the neighborhood. There has to be compatible colors, so you could add criteria. Another option is to take it out of the planning commission's review and just say if it meets these standards, then it can be approved at staff level. And we might add some standards that address things like compatibility and color. You can say, well, you can look at surrounding buildings and determine what colors would be appropriate, and neon yellow would not, things like that. We can get to the question that do you allow them in side yards, and if they're over 12 and a half feet, and should we allow them over 12 and a half feet on half acre. Like I said, you could do a 400 square foot building on over half acre, but really a garage is going to be tough to be with that 12 and a half foot height limit. So you could revisit that. And I'll just say, in reading this carefully, there's some other technical changes we could make if you send it back for revisions. So again, the planning commission's recommendation was to approve, and with the provisions that they would require approval with those standards. So that concludes my report.
Thank you, Barton.
You're welcome.
Questions from council for Barton? Okay, we also have Mike Miller here, petitioner for this one. Welcome, Mike.
How's it going tonight?
Good. Congrats on making it this far. It's probably been a journey.
Yeah, it's been a journey, and I'm trying to make it a little easier for everybody in the city of Ogden that lives in a little smaller lot to build a garage that is a lasting garage. I have neighbors in my neighborhood that have put vinyl up, and in the last 3 years, they put garages up and it's blown the vinyl siding off, the aluminum siding off. It's not a real durable building material like the baked enamel siding is. And the baked enamel siding will look good for a long time. And it's really a lot sturdier material than what other than your other products that you have, and it's a cheaper product. To put a vinyl siding on the garage I want to build, it'll cost me $10,000 to $12,000 more dollars than if I put a baked enamel siding on that garage. And nothing's cheap anymore these days, so you just kind of look at what will help everybody. It's not just about me. It's about the whole city of Ogden. It's about all the people that don't make a lot of money that want to improve their stuff, that they could, use something like that, some kind of architectural metal that would be more durable than an aluminum siding or an enamel or a vinyl siding.
Okay, thanks, Mike. Does anybody have questions for Mike? Okay, thank you, bud.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate everything you've done.
You bet. Right back at you. Okay, if anybody cares to address the council on this item, please limit your comments to 3 minutes and focus on this metal accessory building proposal. Welcome.
Good evening. It's nice to see you, Chair Nadelsky. I would like to call back to a previous work session where Council Member Heyer had voiced some concerns about materials and that there needs to be some consistency. And while I do understand that styles have changed and metal roofs can be really, really nice, I think it's important that we have a very solid description of what will and will not be allowed to be able to amend it. That will help people get through planning faster. If there is an approved list of materials and it meets the approved list of materials, then it's a no-brainer that people can just move through the process quickly. So that's all I'd like to consider. Thank you.
Thank you.
Angel Castillo, Ogden resident.
Thanks.
Sorry.
Thanks for doing my job for me too while you're at it. Okay, anyone else? Okay, we can entertain action.
Yeah, Chair, I from that prior work session, and having been through a petition like this as a petitioner years and years ago, it would be really nice if if a petitioner could look at an ordinance and say, okay, this is going to get approved because it meets the ordinance. And I like the, and Barton, when we asked him about could there be a pallet that could be used, these are approvable, these are not. He said, yes, I think that we ought to implement that. And I also think that if we are able to do that, then staff ought to be able to approve it. It shouldn't have to be a petition to the planning commission, and because it's just, they're not trained monkeys that just process things. Staff is more the trained monkey. No offense.
Easy throwing around all the compliments.
But the point being is it should be able to be approved at the counter and not have to go through some some body that will make that judgment. And hopefully it's not a judgment. It's just a clear, this passes. This checks all the boxes. Away we go.
Easy is good.
Yep. That's what I would like to see this thing turn into. Are you nodding? Or
you still good with that?
You
Barton?
okay with that? Or
Yes.
Okay. We're still learning to read your face, so you're either giving a "yeah, I'm good with that" or "uh-oh."
How about that?
Okay, there you go.
That'll work.
Did you get that in the minutes? Okay.
So I don't know how to make an motion for that. Or is that something that we have to have something come back to us or not?
Barton's got ideas.
Well, and Glenn can say it different, but I think if you wanted to do that, you would make a motion to ask that this be returned to you with that provision, and so we could actually draft the ordinance. You can take final action on it.
Yeah, we definitely need some time to make sure we get the language right on that. One of the considerations is that we do have a petitioner here.
Right.
If it's extended, obviously we'd have to go back and figure out how much time that would take, but that would mean that Mr. Miller would have to wait even longer for that.
Mike,
what's door three then? What we do for him today that gets us this later?
I suppose you could approve it and then we could revisit it. But keep in mind, this is just for the metal accessory. I mean, not all accessory buildings are going through this. It's just for these, metal structures. But so, yeah, I mean, the options would be to approve it so Mike can get on his way and then we can amend it later, or we can make him wait.
Are we talking 2 weeks? Or are we talking 3 months?
If I can just add that the proposal as recommended by the Planning Commission would require it to come back to the Planning Commission. So there's still another meeting.
Oh boy.
So it's just whether you're coming back to the Planning Commission or coming back to the City Council. And timing, it's really up to sort of legal staff and your council schedule. I can't answer that. I could turn around a recommendation fairly quickly, but
I think Mike is 6 years into this sentence already. But any feedback, Glenn? Preference, Mike?
Well, I think Barton's right. I mean, if we updated the language, it probably wouldn't take that long. And he's absolutely right about either coming back to another planning commission meeting or coming to a city council meeting. He's not done with us yet in either case. So if you want to get it right the first time and you want to take a few weeks, we could probably get it turned around fairly quickly.
So what would be a date? Give me a date.
Well, I would prefer to extend versus table, just because we don't know what our calendar looks like and how long that would take to get done. Just means we would have to notice it again. But based on our current schedule, we probably wouldn't be able to table it in a time that's less than we would have to notice it anyway. So extending it would just give us just a little bit of flexibility in our scheduling.
So just to clarify then, so if we were to pass this right now, it still has to go back to the Planning Commission.
He'd still have to go back to the Planning Commission. Yeah.
And how long would that take if we pass it today and went back to the Planning Commission? But about how long for this to be final?
That's
we'd probably be on the first meeting in November for Planning Commission.
We could do our part in 30 days, right? And get it.
Again,
I think we probably could.
Okay.
Okay, since we've got the petitioner here, he's dying to talk again. He's got something he wants to tell us. Is that what I'm reading your body language?
Come up if you got it.
Come on up. If you give us your 2 cents on.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
Do you want to give us any feedback on the discussion we're having on timeline and sending you back and forth? And
I've had a contractor under contract for 8 months. And then it's just been around and around and around. I mean, what I'm trying to do is going to do nothing but improve the neighborhood I live in. because the neighborhood I live in, there's 3 garages that are probably the same and then look nice, and they're the baked enamel siding that's been in that neighborhood for anywhere from 20 to 50 years. And the gray one that's straight down from my house, they have never painted it, and it was gray when I moved into the neighborhood 36 years ago. And it looks like when I moved into the neighborhood, it's so much better of a product to work with. And it's the longevity, the durability. I mean, you can just go on and on and on. And the reason, the contractor has something to do with it too. I've gave him a chunk of money, and if it keeps dragging out, he might just tell me too bad and take the money and walk, and then I'm going to be out that money too. So I would like to try to get something going to where I can get him building. And right now he don't want to build until he knows what he's going to have to put up.
Yeah.
And I'm fighting with him about, well, we'll just put the vinyl siding or the aluminum siding on. And I'm like, I don't have $12,000 more to give you to build this garage. I don't, so we're going to wait and try to ride it out and see what we can get the commission and the planning commission and, city council to all approve and get together and, make it a little easier on the small guy like me, like half, 3/4 of the people of Ogden, and it'd make it just so much easier for Ogden City in general, if you would allow more leeway.
Hey, Chair, I have a question.
You have a question for Mike? Or for Barton?
No, I just have a for Barton.
Okay, let's let Mike wrap up real quick, and then we'll bring Barton back. Thanks, Mike. Anything else?
Yeah, but it just to make it easier for everybody in this city of Ogden, if we could go to something like this, just to add that little half acre and smaller, that we could use the same siding as a half acre and bigger. Because there's no difference. We're still in the city of Ogden. We still, are trying to.
I think we totally understand what you're saying. So, yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Marcia, go ahead.
So I guess maybe, first of all, I don't feel comfortable doing an ordinance that we have to take it back and forth and not get it right the first time. So I think we need to, if I was to vote, I would say that it would be beneficial to get it right the first time. Is there a way to do a variance for him that isn't going to be out of line or out of alignment with the ordinance that will eventually come to us?
Well, can I say something that might fit into what you're going to answer? Would that be all right?
Yeah, it looks like Mark might have an idea as well.
I just have a question. If we're going to fix the ordinance how Councilmember Heyer described, Mike wouldn't have to go back to the Planning Commission because he could go to staff and get approval.
That's exactly my point.
And so I think we shorten it. He will have his approval before November that he could have gone back to the Planning Commission.
Yeah.
If I'm right. Am I right, Glenn and Barton? I mean, that's, in my view, is if you took a couple of weeks, fixed the ordinance, got it done, then he could be in with Barton in days after that, getting an approval.
Yeah, he walks out with a permit, doesn't have to wait for the Planning Commission to review it.
Yeah. And as far as a variance, I'd say no, there really isn't an option for a variance.
Sorry, where is the variance? What does that mean?
That was Marcia's.
So a variance is a state provision where it allows, in unusual circumstances, for people to get a variance changed to the zoning standards. But it has to be a very particular, unique situation. So, for example...
well, how is that applicable to this conversation?
Councilor White asked if he could get a variance.
Okay.
And the answer
is got it. Okay.
I just want to...
I was just trying to come up with options. So it sounds like we might have some better options. for Mike at least.
Yeah, that's where my interest is. I want to put Mike out of his misery on this. He's been patient and kind and deserves resolution at some point. Let's not make it worse for him.
My thinking, Chair, is that if we did extend this for our staff and planning staff to work through the language, and then we pass an ordinance in even 30 days, that's still before the November Planning Commission, then he can walk into the counter. He complies with the ordinance. The staff can make the approval. He walks out with a permit. That saves him 2 weeks.
We're going to fast track you the best we can. Is what we're doing here.
That's my thinking.
So, Councilmember Heyer, if I could ask a clarifying question for the changes that you would want to make. There's a number of standards that are already listed in the ordinance. Are you okay with those being the standards that the planners look at? Do you want to make any changes to those, or do you simply want to change it from the Planning Commission to the planning staff
I think,
with the same standards?
Well, not having reviewed the standards within the last day or so, when we did look at them for the work session, I think they were just a little nebulous, and that if we just used some graphical descriptions like his work session presentation did, and maybe added a text to go along with that, that would be, I think that would give the staff enough direction to make that approval.
Okay, so just changing it to staff instead of planning commission with some just clarifying illustrations and things like that.
Clarifying illustrations and language. Yep. Just so it's not nebulous. I just didn't want it to be, one day it could be approved and another day it couldn't.
Sure.
I just want to make sure that it's going to comply with some standard.
Okay. Maybe I'll defer to Barton on those standards. Do you feel like if these went to staff, you would have a clear understanding from one case to the next?
Yes, and there were the couple of standards that I would probably propose to add is dealing with the colors, and we can do something about compatibility that is an objective standard, not something subjective.
Thank you. Perfect.
If that's the case, and we're clear on that, I think we could probably find a date to table it to rather than extending, so we don't have to notice it again.
Okay.
It looks like October 11th might be a good option for you. It'd give you about 3 weeks.
Okay. Works for me.
If that works for Mr. Brierly. Okay.
You ready for a motion then?
If you are. Let's not make it nebulous.
Okay, let's not. Okay, Chair. Concerning proposed ordinance 2022-42, I would make a motion that we table this to October 11th for the approval palette to be generated. How would you say this? And the text of the ordinance to allow staff to make this approval.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Heyer, second by Councilmember Ritchie to adopt proposed or to table proposed ordinance 2022-42 to October 11th for the reasons stated, which are not nebulous.
Not nebulous.
This is a voice vote.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay, that passes. Mike, you were on a track to be done in November. Now you're on a track to be done in October.
Good?
Is that helpful? That was confusing as that was.
I'm gonna keep trying to do what I set out to do, and I mean if it's gotta go a little.
We just sped you up, buddy.
It's all good.
Yeah, you're good.
I just worry about the contractor getting tired of being, we got to wait another 2 weeks. We got to wait another 2 weeks. We got to wait another month. I kind of worry about the end result with him.
We couldn't have helped you with that. That's a relationship you got to work with. But
yeah, I understand.
But we did buy you 2 weeks. So
yeah,
I appreciate it.
Instead of waiting until the November
Yeah,
planning meeting?
that's good. No, you guys are good. I appreciate everything you're doing. That's how it works. It doesn't just, you don't come in and get what you want. You come in and you work with people and you do what you have to do to make things work the way you would like them to work.
Okay. We'll see you on October 11th. Maybe we can order another box.
A smile on my
Maybe
face.
we'll order another box lunch that night for you for your troubles. And then Barton will probably see you on October 12th at the front desk.
Awesome.
Okay. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate your patience. Okay. Next item on our agenda is public comments. If anybody cares to address the council on any topic, please state your name for the record and limit your comments to 3 minutes.
Good evening, Angel Castillo, Ogden resident. Got that part right this time. Again, thank you so much to Brandon for always making sure that you can access things technologically, because I seem to be spending a lot of time in my car on Tuesdays. Listening to the work session, I would really like to address something that was brought up, which I find really, really curious, and I think there has been some sort of breakdown of communication that I'd like explored in a public way. I'm specifically referring to Mr. Johnson's comments about new market tax credits. On August 11th, I sent Mark Johnson a introduction letter to Amy Rowland, who is the executive director of CDFA Utah. CDFA Utah is the only CDE within the state of Utah that has new market tax credits. And if you're not familiar with new market tax credits, it's money to be invested, about private investment into traditionally economically depressed areas. Marshall White Center is an opportunity zone. It hits all of the notes. New market tax credits are extraordinarily difficult to get. Weber County approached Amy Rowland earlier this year, and Amy pretty much told her, it's like, well, we're very particular about the projects that we fund. We'll reach out to you if you want to utilize it. New market tax credits are very important because they can fund up to 85% of a particular project. 20% of it can be forgiven. And there is no cheaper money. There is no cheaper bond unless you have a private investor that's going to give you the full amount and let you dictate the terms. New market tax credits have the most flexible terms and are always below market rate. Amy Rowland reached out to me in August 9th, and we had a conversation about the Marshall White Center. And she reached out to me because I have been very vocal about this issue and because of the work that I've been doing with the State Multicultural Affairs Committee. And Amy wants to put the Marshall White Center in their portfolio. Amy also agreed that if her portfolio was not big enough to finance 85% of it, she would partner with another CDE to bring that up to the amount that's needed. So I don't know where the miscommunication has happened, why the email wasn't responded to, because I called Amy a week later and I asked her, have you heard anything? And she said no. And at that particular point in time, I told Amy, I said, well, you know, there's been some staff changes. There's a lot going on. Mr. Johnson's extraordinarily busy. Let me put you in contact with someone who understands new market tax credits, and maybe they can get what you need and then deliver that information to the city. And we haven't heard anything. And I would like to know why you did not respond to that email and why you would not contact the executive director of a company willing to give 85% new market tax credits.
Thank you. Anybody else care to address the council?
Hi, my name's Kim Bouchard, Ogden resident. I totally feel Mike's pain. I wish I was still here. Going through those ordinance and zoning changes are a lot and very costly. I just want to highlight this weekend in our town. You know, I don't know if you made it downtown or not, any Friday night, Saturday night, everything. People work really hard to make this a beautiful place to live. I call them the doers. And so I just want to publicly give a shout out to the Ogden Downtown Alliance and their tiny team. And, you know, you're going to get some really good news. I think Mark knows about it, but I'm not going to steal their thunder. There's some really neat stuff coming from them, awards and stuff. But they work really, really hard. And that was the 21st annual Harvest Moon. It started with like 200 people in front of roosters 21 years ago. So it was so fun for me to just come for a minute as a guest and just see it in full swing. Jared Allen is a doer, as you know. I mean, he has done so many projects in this town and had to do his own ordinance changes, and what he's done with that Twilight series and has just been astounding to do that many shows back to back. And then the support from the ACE team, you know, Christy McBride's team, her tiny team that, you know, all these little organizations just do. Like, obviously we don't have enough money for anything, but their heart and souls are in it. And I just really want to say what happened in Ogden this weekend. Like, Ogden really shined. The Hope Walk, gosh, that's just grown. And I just think it's important to remember our history and these roots and stuff and where we were and where we are. And I think that's it. I just am very proud to be an Ogden resident, and I'm proud that I've been able to help with some of that stuff in my small way over the years. But man, we have some very special people that live here, and I just want to publicly thank all of those people that made a weekend like this happen.
Thanks, Kim. Anybody else? Okay, seeing no more hands raised. Comments from the mayor?
Nothing tonight, thank you.
Thank you. Comments from council members?
Chair, I was here on Friday night, and it was quite the event. Other than no parking spots within forever, it was really hard to park here. But it was really hopping. It was nice to be a part of this, and you know, you hear the good music playing all around downtown, and lots of people with smiles on their face walking around. It made me very proud to be an Ogdenite that night too. Although I'm never not proud. So what a great town we live in.
Agreed. Anyone else?
You'll have to move a little closer, Councilmember Heyer. You can walk right down from my house.
That's right.
You don't have to park. Yes. I was actually going to do a shout out to the community and all the people that made the events happen as well. It's really, really great. Really appreciate it. And I loved getting an update in the work session on the Marshall White Center progress. So excited about that possibly coming to fruition in our lifetimes. We just really desperately need that resource, and I'm really excited about all the work that's been put in to make it happen.
Thanks, Angela. Anyone else? Okay, I just close with the comment that I'm going to call out Ken Ritchie for his BYU blue glasses on Make Ogden Purple Day.
Denver Bronco blue.
Just kidding. Okay, if there's no more comments, we'll...
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Heyer, second by Councilmember Lopez to adjourn. This is voice vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thanks, you guys.